So all this that she said about grace, it's like, yes, 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 it's wonderful. And it's all pivoting on one part of what she said. And by the way, grace is found where a table has been prepared for it. I mean, it's like, that's why we meditate. That's why we do healing. That's why we forgive. It opens this space. And we're going to have a song by John Dumas in 2 seconds here, a minute. I just want to remind everybody, I was saying all these other things so far today about, let's own the beautiful things we're bringing to the world. Try this on for size. It doesn't matter if you're a minister. Try to think of everything you do in this world as your ministry. This is what A Course in Miracles calls teach only love, meaning let your ministry be only love. But to get away from the word ministry, like, some sort of pulpit and so. All of us are the will of God. We all have a purpose. And ultimately, it's to anchor the presence of God in the world. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a war or the middle of a party. Our job is to hold that presence. I'm not trying to pressure you to where you're like, oh my God, he's telling me I have a responsibility to change the world. You are the change. Let that even be heavier if you want. It's like the comedian Stephen Wright said, I remember, he's the guy who talks real, straight. I remember when I was a kid, they said, only you can prevent forest fires. And then he said, the pressure almost killed me. So I'm saying with excitement, it's your ministry. Like when you go to work and you say hi to people that come in, that's my ministry. It's no longer my job. It's no longer something I just do. It's who I am. Keep that in mind when you hear someone do a sacred reading. They're not reading stuff. It's their ministry. And when you hear it and apply it, of course, it's your ministry. It becomes second nature. And when you hear John Dumas and so on, musicians, we have Bear and people that have played here. I've never seen anybody perform here, share music here, where it's like their duty. We see it as, this is who they are and how they anchor that presence. So let everything be a profound experience when you're here. Do your best to absorb 1% or 100% of what you experience here and bring that to the world. It is your ministry, your unique way. A single mother, a divorcee, a this, a that, or an orphan. It doesn't matter. What we do with it starts to express God's presence here and now, and that's my living ministry. Some of us have the profession, but even if it weren't if I was working at Walmart, this would still be what I do. Be nice to people, make a difference, and so on. With that, John Dumas. job. Pretty cool, huh? Does that feel like it's his ministry or a job? You know? God, you know. And people sitting in audiences, they see speakers and authors and musicians, and it sort of seems like we're up here doing our work, our life's work or our job work. It's very important for everybody to really get. Part of my ministry is sitting in this audience today, absorbing so I can take it with me. This is going to feed my ministry. See, you're not, that way it's not linear. You're not listening to people talk. It's like, no, this is feeding my soul. And we gradually realize layers start peeling away to where it's not two separate things, me and my eventual ministry. We start to realize, wait a minute. Michael says, and I mean this, everyone's ultimate soul's purpose, I'm not talking about your personal soul's purpose, everyone's, as a collective soul's purpose, everyone's ultimately is the same. Anchoring the light of God in the world. Now, when there's no world, that fades, and now I'm back into the God that I am. But in the meantime, it seems like I have an ultimate purpose, and it is nothing but to anchor. It's not to have kids. I swear to God. Your ultimate soul's purpose is not to get married. It's not to buy a house. It really isn't. I can't wait. Once I get my second boat, I'll know that I'm alive. No. You'll die and the boats will be gone. And you'll be like, damn, you know, you didn't do your soul's purpose. Well, I didn't know I had one. Who you are. Start with this funnel. And you get to decide how much of a funnel there is. That's called our choice. God's going to say, here I come. And if all you hold out is a thimble, oh well, that's all you got. If you go like this, give me all you got. You know, that's different. So your soul's purpose is sort of the measurement of choice between how much you're willing to handle at a given time. And some of us are identified with hurt, betrayals, wounds of the past, limiting belief systems. So we think, could I have a little bit, God? We're playing up the meek and the wounded one, which is fine, because that's how we feel for the time. This is sort of what Jesus was saying at times in his teachings, such as when this one woman says, oh, but I'm from a lesser culture. Could I at least get the crumbs from the table? Now, do you think Jesus was like, well, of course, that's all you deserve. But he has to honor, if all you believe is that you deserve only crumbs, so be it. But he's also teaching, and there's so much more. Can we go from this to this? It's free will. You don't have to. You can take 100 more lifetimes to do that. Oh, no. I gotta play small, and you're allowed to do that. But something is happening in the world that's trying to wake everybody up by snapping them out of the trance, illusion, hypnosis of this is all I am. See, we used to have a dispensation of life and spirituality that said, beloveds, you have free will, which you still do, and you are permitted to take as long as you like to make your choice to own a bigger consciousness. And that's never changed. That's still happening. But secretly, there's a new dispensation that says, and you're still allowed free will. You're still allowed to say as much as you want. You can go as slow as you like. This new dispensation says, but we're going to turn up the volume a lot. You know, you have free will. But we're letting you know that when you get in the tanning booth, we've cranked it. It's nuclear. You still have free will. You can just turn to crisp, you know, and reincarnate. But you're only going to need to, you know, reincarnate 3 more times before you get it, where it otherwise would have been 30 more times or 300 more times. See, Spirit's allowed to turn up the volume. It's kind of funny if you think about it, because, you know, you still have free will. You get to choose when. But people are going to now more and more choose the when to be now, because the fire's on, man. You know, this is all getting really, really intense. So, you know, it's important that, I guess today, one of the concepts is that understanding everything is in our mind. And I've, you know, talked about that concept before, but when we say the power is in your mind, you know what people started doing? Using their thinking. They thought the mind meant thinker. And they started using human ingenuity and thinking to make a better life. Oops. What it meant was in your consciousness, not your thinker mind, your spiritual consciousness, which we call mind. Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, in the diary notes especially, we should have called it soul. Even in A Course in Miracles, we should have called it soul mind instead of mind, because you people are going to think that we mean the thinker. He said, but if we use the word soul, you're going to screw that up too, because people have different definitions of what that means. He says, so we're just going to go with mind. But in teachings and books I've written about A Course in Miracles, I call it the soul mind versus the ego mind. See? The soul mind. The one that can choose the divinity again. You could even say there's the spirit mind, and that's the mind of God. But everything is in our mind. But again, it means everything is in our consciousness. Everything is consciousness. So everything we see on the outside, and many of us have heard this concept, it's really not soaked in. Everything we see is a reflection of our beliefs in our consciousness. Notice I didn't say mind. But if I slip and say mind, remember, that's what I'm talking about is consciousness. So everything we see, if I stand up here and I give a great talk, that is something that was in your consciousness that you were ready to create. If I give a horrible talk, that was in your consciousness, and that's what you created today. So it's not my fault. Okay? Everything. You cannot have one hair on your head or falling out of your head that isn't vibrationally compatible to your consciousness. It is impossible. It's impossible. It would become almost like a foreign object, basically. It doesn't make any sense. I can't have your prosperity level of consciousness. You can't have mine. Ultimately, we all have the same one, which is God. But in the meantime, when we think we're all just little separate people, I have more, you have less. I have karma, you have less karma. You see, there's all this measuring in the human plane. So we learn to say, God, everything's in the mind. So everything I see is a reflection of my consciousness. Now, what's really challenging is you can say, well, I'm watching a TV screen, and it's a movie that came out of the mind of a director, isn't it? Or a writer? That's a reflection. That's a good analogy. But we think that because we can see a picture or a TV screen, we think that that's different than what I'm talking about. It is not different. The only difference is one is a third dimensional, what we call holographic screen. The other looks like two-dimensional. So we go, well, that's TV. That has nothing to do with my consciousness. You are seeing a movie and you're the writer and director. When Jesus, Buddha, and others are talking about heightening our spiritual life, what they're really saying is, why don't you let God write it and direct it? That's what you're really saying. All spirituality is all just that. Now, we talked last week about God's will versus our will. But we then inadvertently start to think, well, but wait. If I allow God to be the writer and director, what do I get to do? Which is why your ego convinces you to not surrender to God. That's one of its tactics. But then why don't we just follow the thought through here? If I surrender to God to be the writer and director, well, where do I fit in? How don't I matter? You say to yourself, who's talking there? God? Is God going, oh, gee, what do I do? No, your ego. So you say to yourself, if I surrender and allow God to be the writer and director, I'm actually surrendering to my real self. I am involved. I am part of the decision. This is really cool. The ego won't typically allow your mind to conclude there. It's going to put little tantrums in here. Just say no to it. Just, no, I don't agree with that. I totally get this. And then say, and besides, aren't you the weirdo that screwed up my life? The one that's whining, what about me? Isn't that the one that went along with drugs when friends were doing drugs? Isn't that the one that went along with, unsafe intimacies? Isn't that the one that made all kinds of weird decisions? Why not just live dangerously and try God? Call me silly, call me faithful, but hey, why not? It's beautiful. It takes us to a whole different place. The consciousness reflects outside. The outside is just a hologram. It's just a three-dimensional picture that you painted. And it cannot accidentally paint something for you. And the authors of that hologram, the material world, can be one of a couple of things. It's primarily you. But there's you and there's us. There isn't one person that chose to create a war right now. There's one person and a group of people, the collective. The collective had to have fed it somehow. Or we couldn't see it. Why couldn't we see it? Because it wouldn't be in our reality. That's what would happen. It couldn't be seen because it's not in our consciousness. So if we heal our minds, I have nothing to do with it. I don't even live in Europe. Doesn't matter. We're all in this together. My mind is your mind. We're all connected. So I don't even know where that place is. That country, that city, etc. I don't even know where it is. So how do I have anything to do with it? Because you're part of us. Well, I don't have those thoughts. That's not going to help. You're being defensive and afraid. Try it out. Try and say, we're in this together. Try and say, a war over there reflects the war in all of us and each of us. Yeah, but shh. I know you don't remember. I know you didn't wake up today and say, where can we start a war? I know that you didn't cognitively do it. It's a vibration that starts materializing that came from a belief. And the beliefs are collective consciousness. My own too, but a collective. And you can say, well, but what do I have to do with war? Is there anybody you don't like? Because that's feeding the war. Is there somebody you resent from third grade? That's feeding the war. Is there somebody you think is prettier than you? That's conflict. That's feeding the war. The energy goes out, and then psychopaths soak it in and start wars. But it's not just their fault. They're playing a role. So I've said things like this many times. The outside reflects the inside. There are many tombs on this planet, especially Egyptian tombs, where inside the tomb there's a sarcophagus, or casket, let's call it. And in the ceiling, there's all these stars painted. Now, archaeologists and academics go, they painted the stars so that, first of all, the deceased would have something pretty to look at. Brilliant. You went to school for this. Or they'll say it's a map so that the soul will know how to find some star system that they want to go to. Brilliant. Again, brilliant. First of all, in its higher state, you don't think it's going to find it? It needs a map. So anyway, why do they paint the insides of the tombs? You know why? Because it's a metaphor to say, whomever you are, it's a metaphor to say that inside your mind are all the stars of the universe. So picture this. A tomb is actually your skull. And inside your skull, you have neurons firing. Those are called universally what? Stars. So the tomb is a metaphor of the universe, and the universe is all in your mind. It's in your skull. Because the brain is playing a role of a symbol, a metaphor. It's not about the brain, it's about the person that owns the brain, which means it's about your mind, which is really also called your consciousness. So these people that were more the elite were being treated, and everybody should have been. But that's not the way cultures were. But they at least said the elite are a little more godlike, so they're the ones that get to go into tombs where they have stars and pretty things. But it wasn't about pretty things. It was about, remember, beloved, everything is in your consciousness. And all the stars means that we're talking about the inside of your skull, where your brain is. But that's a symbol of your mind, which is a symbol of your consciousness. So within your own being are all the stars of the universe in your neurons. Yeah. And every star, there is a star for every soul ever created in our universe. There is a star for every soul. There's a Michael one out there somewhere. There's a Jane, every one of us, even the most demented, sick person, there's a star somewhere out there that is theirs. When they talk about the birth of Jesus, they talk about this extraordinary special effects in the sky. There's a planet, there's a star. Remember the star story, right? And people, sit around trying to figure out, well, that was the star of this and that. And some of their theories are close and are correct. Try this one on for size. What if that special star in the sky that came down to announce the birth of Jesus, what if it was his star? Thank you, dear. One person liked that idea, okay? So, what if it was his star? What if it was his star showing up to say, I'm fully here, star and all. I have brought my star to announce that my soul and my divinity is all right here. That doesn't mean that you got to go, oh, now I have to wait for a star to show it. No, God, you are the star. It's just for him, it was extra special effects, to kind of make it look extra cool. He didn't have to wait for that. But it had to happen, not because he needed it to happen. You know why it had to happen? Because the star itself said, I am so humbled by the integrity, the love, the light in this person named Jesus. I have to be there. I've got to show, this is going to be so exciting. So that star flew here from wherever and said, may I be here and bow at peace on earth and goodwill to mankind. That's beautiful. You have a star. But if you have a star, what did I say the universe, where is it mirrored? In your neurons. There's a neuron for every person and a star for every person. It has to be so. I swear it. Has to be so. It's not an accident that inside the skull there are stars firing. Twinkle, twinkle, little neuron. It's happening. It's beautiful. And when I fire certain neurons, such as I hate you, it starts hardwiring. And that becomes, unfortunately, hardwire, brain, which hardwires mind, which then I become that consciousness. I'm just hateful. Check my brain. Look, you'll find all kinds of hardwire. Hate. You got some operator in there going, hello, operator, hook me up with hate. Hooking you up, hardwiring you to hatred. Jealousy, racism, stupidity. Just gross human behaviors. But every time you nurture love, peace, forgiveness, oneness, we're all in this together, caring about each other. Every time. You're not only plugging in those, you're unplugging. Unplugging old wiring is called healing. Every time you've allowed yourself to say to a counselor, a friend, I've never told anybody this, but boom, the Holy Spirit is given permission to go in and unplug the hardwiring. Don't wait for your doctors to do it. Don't go and buy medications. Guaranteed to unplug hardwiring of hate. On the TV commercials. May cause limbs to fall off. Don't buy medicines that'll do the hardwiring. Call on your mother. Call on God. I'm hurt. I have these patterns of, God, every time I get a new job, end up having problems. As soon as I earn more money, I get more taxed and I never get anywhere. I hear you. And that is hardwired. You're hearing your beliefs and ours. And I want to say this. It's called the Ho'oponopono prayer. Watch how this works. Why that is a valid prayer. You're having these belief systems that as soon as you earn more money, somebody takes more money. You know what's appropriate to say to them? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love the real you, the prosperous you. Thank you. That's why the prayer works. And some people are like freaky about it. They're going, well, what do you mean? I'm not sorry about I have nothing to do with them. You do. And the fact that you don't realize it is why your life is still screwed up. Because you still think you're different and separate. We're in this together. I told a story at least once in the last many years of when I've been in this, when I was touring. But when I was here, I told it at least once. But, one time, and this has happened now and then in my life, but one time I was being taken, the person transporting me from wherever to wherever, airport to somewhere. And we pulled to the off-ramp. And, sometimes my spider senses, I start sensing something. So I look over and I'm picking up and I see what's happening. There's a guy here in the next lane and he's getting out of his car because there's a carload of guys behind him who have been harassing him because of his particular race. Now I'm looking and going, watching to see what's happening. These guys are getting out of their car to thump this guy. This guy had the courage to get out of his car and he's like, what's your problem? To confront them, which is cool, but he would have gotten a good thumping. I don't even know who they are. I got out of my car and said, dude, I'm here. If you die, I die with you. That's all. Right. That's the right thing to do. Not for you. For me. Some of you might go, yep, I'm right with that. Others, you have to go with what's right for you in the moment, not what someone else tells you is right for everybody. You have to feel it out. God, if I was a new mommy, had a couple of children, I wouldn't say that's the right thing for me to do. You have to weigh these things out. But I got out of the car and I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? This is it. This is what's real to me. It's not appropriate for you people to do this. So this is kind of cool because there's one more person standing up, not to say, this is going to be great, a fight. I haven't had one of those in weeks. That's not the thinking. This was more like, I hope this sends a message to the right people. You, I hope, feel loved and supported. I hope when you tell this story to your family when you get home, you can say, and someone else stood with me. Instead of, look what everybody does to me. No, someone stood. Don't forget that. You guys, you get to have another message like, who was that dude? It was none of his business. And a neuron that goes, that was kind of courageous or whatever else it would mean to them. Send them a message too. This is our ministry. Your ministry is not just about, beloveds, the children of God. The Bible says your ministry is integrity. Your ministry is to demonstrate something different today for anybody watching. So Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, teach only love, for that is what you are. Oh, okay, so give me a book and some notes and I'll teach only. He doesn't mean talk with pointer tools and overhead projectors. He's saying overhead projectors for the ones that are less than 90 like me. That are, less than 90 because I'm that age. If you don't know, this is the old school stuff. Overhead projectors and, so, yeah, remember those? Yeah. Sheets one at a time and then they all spill. I guess the order of our talk today has changed. Like the Beatles making backward tapes of songs, So anyway, the old school, but teach only love doesn't mean lecture only love. It means be an example of only love. That's what it means. Teach only love. The reason he uses the word teach is because when you are owning beingness, I'm being a jerk, I'm being wonderful. Whatever you're being, he's saying, you are actually conveying to people, this is not only what you think of them, it's what you think of yourself. See, that's what he means by teach. Be. And in the being, it's not just a beautiful, passive kind of a spiritual axiom. It's in what I do, I'm conveying to you how I feel about myself. So it also means what I feel about you. If I show you low self-worth because of my constant self-abuse, I'm telling you that I don't matter, but it also means I don't think you matter either. I'm teaching people we don't matter when I am putting that vibe out. Now, again, sometimes for me, because I've been teaching so long, lifetimes, and sometimes I've gotten a little too serious about it because that feels right for me. But so sometimes I'm like, okay, even more. How can I be even more integrity? And that's okay. But this is what happens. You go from making human mistakes to getting on the path. And when you get on the path, if you really get on the path, You start behaving differently. You stop as much addictions, right? You start cleaning things up. You start eating, whatever. Your label things. You're at Whole Foods reading the labels, making sure it has all the purest whatever. So you're cleaning up your act, and it's a beautiful thing to do. Jesus in A Course in Miracles, and let me say that differently, Christ consciousness, which is ours, teaches us this. Do you actually think it's a fast track home for you to fix yourself? No. I said the quote last week from Martin Luther, cling to Christ and sin boldly. Tune into that. It's like, my job isn't to fix all my bad habits. I will fix them. But first and foremost, I'm going to forgive myself for having them. Then there's no tension on fixing them. Because if I think I become better and a more forgiving person by fixing myself, I've limited. See what's happening? What if I tune into, isn't that funny that I still do this a bit and that I still cuss too much or judge too much or whatever it is. I own it. I surrender it to God and I say, let me see myself as you see me. That's what you do. You surrender the false, you soak in the true, and I promise you, ending your naughty behaviors will become more organic, more natural, and easier. It's easier than you fixing them so that you can proclaim to God, guess what? I'm holy now. I read labels. Then you're walking down the aisle at Whole Foods. Are you watching? No more MSGs. No, not me. I go to the store and I only drink alfalfa juice. I don't even know what that would taste like, but it doesn't sound good to me. Alfalfa, good for you perhaps. But you know what I'm saying? It's like that. It's like pure and raw, just so beautiful. I only eat eggs that have a stamp on the top that said, Happy Chickens. With photos of children tickling them, playing with the chickens. And these are family happy chickens. Our cats are declawed so that they can all play without hurting each other. Whatever you believe, that is still efforting. That is still you thinking you can fix yourself, which is not bad. It's better than putting your energy into nothing but self-abuse. It's a healthier illusion, which of course calls a happy dream. It's not bad. It's better, but you want to go all the way home? There's one piece we're missing. I'm already there. And allow that to change my behaviors. Not change my behaviors to get home. No, get home and change your behaviors. How? Well, to bless each of my behaviors. To bless each one. Being able to own them when you screw up a little bit. Just, hey, look at me. Isn't that silly? Yogananda says, you just stand, you face God, you open yourself up and say, here I am, all of me. You can call it, in the old terminology, sinner or saint. No dark places, no, places you hide. No, here I am. And too many people go, oh, no. You have to go, here I am. One little aspect of myself. Look, I pray all the time. And God replies, you should. I remember this great story, this really crass, intense coach in football, Vince Lombardi. He's like this great icon. And he went to church every single day. And one day, some of his teammates and the other coaches were like, man, this guy, whew. And then one of them says, that man goes to church every day. And some of the others are going, every day? Why? And he goes, he needs to. That's what he said, I swear to God. His friend, companion, fellow coach. Oh, no, he needs to. I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful to say, wow. And one of the apostles said it so beautifully, paraphrasing here. There are things I really want to do right, and those things I seem to not do. And the things I try to avoid, isn't it weird? Those are the things I do. He was being purely honest. And what I'm saying to you, you are going to heaven in consciousness the moment you own the times when you're not there. More so than you trying to proclaim how good you are. I go to church every day. I read the Bible every day. Okay? And that's not how you get there. proving that you're nicer, more holy than other people. I am those other people. How can I go, look how much better I behave than them? Well, who's the them? And I've said this before. That's called schizophrenia. When you think there's other people in the room, in the world, some nice, some not nice, it's called schizophrenia. I mean, that's what the clinical view would look like. You start talking about people nobody else can see. God can't see the other people you see. God cannot see the people you think are messed up. God can only see pure, perfect, holy lights. So when we pray for other people, even when you're well-intended, I'm praying for other people who are sick right now. Aren't I wonderful? And no offense to you guys who are writing in saying, Michael, could you join with us and pray that this people, against that people and, wars or pandemics? No. Oh, there's this guy, spiritual leader, and he won't pray with us on that. I won't pray the way you want to pray. I cannot see one good and one bad and proclaim that that's healthy. That's not how God sees them. And as long as I see good people and bad people, there will be war because there's good and bad people. Those people are waiting for somebody to see them as God sees them. Then all of a sudden, poof, a miracle happens. We talked about the neurons. There's a neuron for every soul ever created in your brain and a star in the sky, and they're the same. This also means that there is a Jesus neuron in your brain and there's a Hitler neuron. There is. Oh no, I only have good neurons. Yeah. Trust me, some of the things you've drank and taken have killed those neurons. Everyone has an addict neuron. Everyone has an absolute hateful, not me, hateful neuron. The question is, which ones are you feeding? Which ones are you hardwiring? If you have Hitler right there, butted up right next to the Jesus neuron, that you don't want to have the Hitler one, but it's right there. Let's pretend we can find it. And they get to the point where they can do CAT scans or whatever other kinds of scans. And eventually they can find a neuron with the name Adolf, Jesus. And they're butted up against each other, let's say. What I'm saying is the Adolf one can be retired for lack of work. That neuron can be gently not hated. That's not how you do it. Resist not evil. That neuron can be unplugged by the Holy Spirit. And the Jesus neuron can be sort of excited into life. And it starts to activate the other neurons near it. So now the Jesus neuron got fired up. And then all of a sudden, the apostle neurons, the Mother Mary neurons, the Buddha neurons, and my mind starts to become what the Bible refers to as putting on the mind of Christ. See, I become that thing. We need to stop praying for God to fix things in the world. Become the change you want to see in the world. But that means my thinking. Yes, but even more important than my thinking, my beliefs about who I am. My thinking is like the active aspect of beliefs. My job is to start believing differently. Not just thinking you deserve, which is good to do. I'm saying, what if you think you deserve, but your beliefs say you don't? Do you see what I mean by that? It'll just sabotage it. I'm choosing to think I deserve, but I don't want to just think it. I don't even want to just feel it. I want to know it. I want to absolutely know it in my heart and soul, my beliefs. Of course I deserve. Of course. No brainer. What about everyone else? Well, no, that's not holiness. It's, guess what? Oh my God, I got it. Adolf, buddy, wherever you are as God created you, and you are willing to be the Christ on earth. Now, some of you go, he's not worthy of it. If he had known who he was, he wouldn't have done what he did. If you say he's unworthy of prayer, you're actually contributing to him being a megalomaniac again. You see? We play a part. All the world's a stage. Everybody's playing their part. They're not playing God's part. They're playing their part, the one they think they are. So we deserve only goodness. Why? Because we know we truly are good. I need to know it. I need to believe it. I need to think it. I need to feel it. And if I can keep that order pure, I will then experience it. And what I just counted down was the chakras, the upper three as one. Know it, believe it, think it, feel it. Root chakra, boom, experience it. Because the root chakra is the material world. So I get to experience it on all levels. The world made holy, heaven on earth, is when God's consciousness is brought to your root chakra. Not by hyperstimulating your root chakra. But it's holiness. Well, how do I do that? Well, you have to do the breath work and all these things that people do. I got to eat just right. No, that's just a good idea. I got to do this just right. I got to pranayama and I got to, Om Mani Padme and, on it, I'm almost holy. I'm almost holy. Oh, and 1 foot, and then counterclockwise Monday through Friday, weekends clockwise. And, unless you've had a sex change, then you have to switch those two. This just never ends. It's all good to do if you enjoy doing it. It really is. I'm not saying it's completely wrong. Do it if that's what you enjoy. But there's another way of looking at this. I am as God created me. So I don't, clockwise, counterclockwise, wait. Let me just close my eyes and just accept it. I am as God created me. Not, if I just do this, I'll be as God created me. That affirms that I'm not there. I am as God created me. And I need to forgive everything in me that ever believed or acted to the contrary. I mean, how can it get better than that? It's not about making myself holy. It's about allowing myself to be holy, because I already am. So to me, it's an extraordinary thing when we look at the world and see these beautiful metaphors, and people gradually get it. The tombs of Egypt, there's something to learn. Look how I turned that into something here. Jesus finding his own star. You guys were like, whoa, of course. Isn't that beautiful? The more we learn to listen to the teacher that is God in and through us, yes, channeled now and then through me or you or whomever, but it's still the Holy Spirit, the mind of God coming to us. The more we hear it, we go, whoa. We're not just intellectually stimulated. We're not just emotionally like, you're going to hell. Oh my God. And like fear, using fear to convert people. We're going, whoa. And that's the proper mantra. Whoa. Like, yes. We actually get it. And then it shifts how you feel. It shifts how you think. It shifts how you believe. And of course, it's going to shift your experience, our experience. So I'm very, sorry that things happen, sicknesses and wars and so on. It happens. I'm sorry as a human being. I'm sorry that those things happen and that they can be very hurtful. At the same time, I have to cling to the fact that it's up to us to change it. Something can happen, but I don't have to believe it. I don't have to react to it. Right? And that's where we're all going. And we're on the fast track for that, So in closing, this one more concept. We're not here like we think we are, growing in this linear kind of a world. It looks like it, so that's fine. We are not learning, we're remembering. If you're learning, it means at one point you didn't know something, and yet God is in me. How could it not know? There's a part of me that has always known, but a part of me chose not to believe that I knew. When I start remembering, I'm countering belief systems. Is that all making sense? Okay, so check this out. So I'm on a spiritual path. I've been a pagan, a Hindu, this and a Christian, non-Christian. Those are our lessons of life, lifetimes of this religion, that culture, et cetera, et cetera. And it looks like we're growing. If you really saw the trajectory, you'd be depressed. Because human beings have a way of barely learning anything ever. And when they close one lifetime, even if they've done great, I have learned 1,000 new truths we also have judged 1,000 times. So it's a wash. I learned new spiritual truths. Oh, I learned the power of pyramids, but I still hate you. It's not helping. It's my pyramid, not yours. So have we really gotten anywhere? It's kind of slow, but that's fine. That's fine. Picture this. If you start practicing the development of Christ consciousness, you don't even have to call it that. If you develop the presence of God in yourself and you practice loving, forgiving, thinking as God, believing, even if I don't feel like a child of God today, I know I am. I'm choosing to believe that behind all the garbage, I'm still here spiritually, right? If you practice that, you're hardwiring, you're activating those spiritual neurons, hardwiring them, and it's becoming my consciousness, which is really cool because I'm growing, right? Spiritually. And doesn't it take time for that growth, guys? Yes or no? Right, of course. It was a trick question, so you're wrong. So listen. It does seem like you're growing in time, but check this out. If I am developing and choosing to think as God thinks, know as God knows, love as God knows, forgive as God forgives, you know what you're really doing? You're ziplining yourself right to the end. You are actually not just growing a little, you are ziplining, straight tracking, just fast tracking right into the consciousness of God. It might look like you got a little something. You went boom, right to God. In the moment you forgave, you were being God. You weren't learning about God a little bit. That's what the ego tells you, so it feels futile. You went boom, right into God. And then an hour later, I'm not as forgiving, I'm back to me, and that's fine. But every time you did it, you worked, you did your love, forgiveness, taking responsibility, you shot into here. Now, lastly, if you shot into here, and this was going to be 1,000 years of evolution, it was going to take me 1,000 years to get there. Even if I'm practicing religion, spirituality, it takes me a while to become a better person. When you really realize how this works, you realize I defeated time. I actually negated time itself. I shot straight into this. Now, whether I can stay 1 second or an hour or 10 years, that's wonderful. Even making it there is huge. So, you have now learned that you're not just growing gradually. Each time you make a healthy, loving, holy choice, you're back in God. You're so powerful, you negated time, which seems like a huge, powerful law in this universe. And yet you're timeless. You're now in a miracle bubble of consciousness. When I start forgiving person X, you think it's person X you're forgiving. Everybody related to them. Because here, this is different. This is miraculous. This isn't time and a little bit at a time. When you shoot into God consciousness, which all of us do when we're doing righteous consciousness, when we go there, we're negating time, yes, but we're being where we were going to eventually be in 1,000 years. See what just happened? You were going to take 1,000 years. It's math. We know how long it takes you to learn this, and then it's a wash because you did that. And you learn this, and we know. Let's pretend it's like 1,000 years. When you did this that I just described, you did it when? Now. You reached the 1,000-year goal right now. The present moment became holiness. That's how all this works, in case you wanted to know. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Let's share some integration of this for a few moments and then our closing song. But think about this. Now you can go into what's called a meditation and get nothing out of it. Or you can realize meditation is where I get to absorb my thoughts, consciousness, prayers, evolutions, and so on. Let me go inside and make this part of me so I'm not just hearing it with my human ears. The meditation is where you integrate it into your mind. So let's go there. Use the initial sounds to decompress the body. mankind and yourself and say, I'm sorry for all the misbeliefs, for dragging people here in karma and healings that needed to happen, all that positive and negative stuff that goes on as we perceive it. Say to yourself and all people, I'm sorry for all that drama. Please forgive me. And then feel it all being lifted out. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry to that child inside that I brought in these beliefs, told it that we couldn't have more money, comfort. I'm sorry that it was an example to people what fear looks like and anger looks like. Even if I think I've never done such things, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me doesn't mean you're begging them. You're saying it's as an affirmative thing. This is done. You have forgiven me. Beloved, I'm sorry. Romantic dramas, I'm sorry. All to God. Imagine and feel neurons being unplugged, synapse erased. Masters throughout all time, here supporting this process, the Holy Spirit doing this spiritual surgery in our consciousness. Of course, she says, honey, thank you for inviting me in. Let me take away some of this stuff and unplug these wires, these beliefs, these hurts. They're not who you are. And I really appreciate you allowing me to participate. You sit around fires, Native American masters, Persian masters, Druid masters, Asian masters, African masters, South American masters, people from north, south, east, and west. And then the hierarchy of light beings, ascended masters, all here with us. This isn't make-believe. They are irresistibly drawn to be where people are becoming God. They support our tears and wipe them away. They download energy where needed. Surrendering it all, surrendering it all. And we shift. We can shift into now. I love you. Oh, it's so much easier to love when all that junk is out of the way. I love you. Who am I saying it to? Me? This child within? The person I thought I was going to be, that I am? Other people? People I've hired to be abusers? Neglectors? Guess what? I'm home. I'm already ziplining all the way there. Oh my God. If you knew the good news, if you knew who we really were, you'd have never done that. And I wouldn't have had you doing it. Thank God. I love all of you. I'm so full of spirit. I love every one of you. The sickest. Doesn't matter. I love all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. together, we're home. And even the most stubborn, hurtful person is grateful beyond words that we've included them into this holy moment. Believe that. Lastly, imagine the sound he's going to make, the same nature sound. The sound he's going to make, imagine this. Imagine that it's the breath of God. Bringing a very distinct healing and an excitation of your spiritual self, being ignited into a flame. Breathe it in. Breathe it in. That sound, that vibration. And so it is. Extraordinary, man. Gradually back into the room, gradually here with us. But come back into the room, but do not disconnect from what we heard, learned, felt, experienced today. Thank you guys so much. Please stand. If you don't know the words to our closing prayer, it's on the front of your bulletin or posted up above. And again, thank you. Folks all here, thank you for physically showing up and being part of this. It is a vibrational support of various kinds. People you'll never meet and nor even see that are online watching. Your vibration, being here, your dedication to want to learn, to want to be in spiritual family community is changing the vibration of the room, which changes what I sense, changes what I teach and how I would teach it. You're participating, guys, here. And the people online, absolutely, you're waving it right back. This beautiful, symbiotic experience of love and light. So God bless and thank you folks online. I know that you're living in places that sometimes are not, mega supportive of new thought. Some people live in places that it's not even discussed. And we take it for granted, They're living in places it's not allowed to even be discussed. Well, guess what? We're here with you. You're here with us. So you're okay. And where you are is where your ministry begins. Start it there, and who knows, maybe you'll move elsewhere. But bring it where you are. Don't wait till you get somewhere. Bring it where you are. Deep, deep gratitude for the experience today. Deep gratitude for John. His just channeled love sounds. Remember, he's got a table if you want to talk to him. He's in the foyer there with products and such. And you guys online, go and check out his website and download his music. Deep, deep gratitude for all. Thank you for our board members. Thank you for our employees. Thank you for our volunteers. Everybody involved here, our chaplains. God bless us all. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. And everything we just said, remember, people around the world, we said it for them too. They could be in the middle of war. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. That's a fact. We're affirming it for everybody around the world. Because wherever we go, God is. Wherever we go, keep going. Yes, wherever we go, yes, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Factually, truthfully, forever so. And so it is. God bless. Thank you, folks online and in person. Peace be with all of you. Bye-bye.